today we have a special guest. I'm very excited to have my friend Steve Olson. Steve and I have known each other for over a decade or more, and one of the smart guys in the industry that comes from the real estate background space. I'm going to find out a little bit more about that, as well as now has a really huge side of him that does tech. And probably he and I have had the most conversations around to CRM or not to CRM, and which
Mhm.
CRM and which not to use, and all of that. And so, with last week's terms of service issues with Follow Up Boss, issues with the big SaaS companies buying companies like Sierra Interactive, and lots of things like that affects the realtor on the street. I decided to bring Steve on and say, let's talk about this from a perspective of real estate agent and usage of the CRM, and with somebody who actually knows how to set these things up. So, welcome, Steve Olson. Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you done in the past? What are you doing now? And give the audience an idea of who you are.
Okay, thank you for the intro. Didn't deserve most of that. I got licensed in February of 2007. Perfect timing for the
Fun.
most amazing bull run in real estate history, at least for the first 5 years, right? I was a coach for you and I coached for the same company for I think I did it for 9 years. Don't quote me on that, somewhere around there. Before that, I was in advertising, sold advertising for Clear Channel Radio. That's probably impacted the most of how I see the world in regards to marketing, technology, automation, all that stuff. Because I really learned before real estate, like there's only a couple key activities we need to do every single day to create like an obscene amount of wealth. And as long as you do that consistently, like everything else is easy. Uh, I've done multiple SaaS startups in the real estate space. Two of them were wild success. Two of them were not a success. I run a national team here at Rio, and then I consult with specific types of real estate agents in regards to not necessarily only the CRM part, but really what I'm like super like excited to do, especially in this space, is to help people create a brand that they control, that they can own, that ultimately gives them the ability to be their own best client. Meaning, like, if you're an agent selling 6 homes a year, like the average agent's like, cool, I want to do more. Let me go grow a team. Most shouldn't grow a team. They should just start flipping and investing, taking two of those deals and because they're going to make more money, with less time and less stress, right? So I think there's too many industry buzzwords on that. And then also, releasing everybody on the addiction that believing that all these other companies, number one, have our best interests at heart, which is totally not true. And I can validate and
That
give you
is
that,
so not true.
yeah, later. And the second thing is that like we're in the whole CRM thing is interesting. I am, I've made it almost 20 years with only paying Zillow $280, my entire career, which I'm super proud of. We've never had to rely on that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's, it's the devil we know. That's kind of the best way to kind of describe that. But from a
And they're
CRM
not the
thing,
only devil. So
no,
let's be
I
clear.
can give you 20. Like
Exactly.
I can tell you and I know this is not what we're going to talk about today. Maybe we should. I run in circles. If anybody knew how much money was on the street right now, that sole purpose is to try to take agent commission, like you would throw up in your mouth. It is like there are so many people right now trying to figure out like, hey, the consumer for some reason is really upset about the rate of commission agents charge. And so like maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but maybe that's our opportunity to get into that pile because we can come in as the advocate for the consumer, and hence this amazing, lawsuit that we've stomached over the
Of
past
which
couple
they're
of
not
years.
an advocate for the consumer at all. They
100%.
they are not a advocate for the consumer or the realtor.
Yeah,
They are an advocate for themselves.
that's right.
And that what is it now? It was $100 billion in commissions in the United States that the real estate industry generates. It's probably more than that now.
Oh, it's got to be more now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, just with the run up price in COVID alone,
correct.
it's got to be. And transactions are, they're down, right? And this is like,
There's
you
still
know, I,
4 million, 4.02 million is what the last number was, happening every year. So
That's right. Yeah. And it's, people have to remember the United States economy, there's two fundamentals that everybody must remember. Number one, the government's job is to get, like, people think like the government's job is to tax more. That's not the government's job. The government's job is to make money change hands as often as possible, right? Because the more times money changes hands, the more fees we can charge and the more taxes can be collected. The real estate industry is the exact same way. Nobody wins Nobody wins on somebody owning a home for 35 years. Like there is
No,
not an industry on the planet other than one industry, the mortgage industry,
mortgage
that
industry.
benefits from somebody holding a home for 35 years. So it is the government's job to make sure that people are trading cars, they're trading insurance, they're trading real estate, they're trading any high ticket purchase they can do as many times as possible because we are built on a fee-based society, right?
It's so
And
funny you say that because my dad, who is now long gone, rest his soul, he died at 93, but he was a home builder and he built
yeah,
a house and we lived in that house from the time I was 9. They died in that house. It was 45
holy
years he had that
smokes.
house. Okay. Now we had multiple houses prior to that, but that was the longest one. And it's so funny because I remember the mortgage company. Now his payment was like
Yep.
$130 a month, right? And the mortgage company was sending him letters like 40 years in, 38 years in, going, could you please pay off this balance? You owe like $5,000,
Yeah,
you know? and,
just to
and it's
clear it out.
like, that was like, so no, it was like, Dad, what are you doing? Why haven't you paid that off a long time ago? And he goes, why should I?
That's
I'm
right.
paying $120 a month, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with them at all. Like I don't know, out of spite, I would probably not pay it.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
yes, you're 100% right. It's the change of hands of money and the real estate industry. We'll get back to CRMs in a minute, but
yeah,
the real estate industry doesn't just change hands in real estate.
that's
It's
right.
every industry we
That's
affect.
right.
I mean, moving companies and
Yep.
furniture and
Hmm.
we just finished building our new house up here in Idaho
Hmm.
and I'm like, you can't go to a store hardly anymore and buy something at a store.
Hmm.
Everything's online. So
Hmm.
I've got shipments coming of
Yep.
stuff, furniture and everything. And then you need food and I mean
Hmm.
repairs and
Hmm.
construction guys and there's so many other industries that our industry feeds and you're right. So when we start talking about these companies that are interjecting themselves into the real estate world, the little guy on the street, which is who I am have a big heart for because I was one of them for many, many years,
Hmm.
decades, that is the realtor. We're
Hmm.
the direct contact to the consumer.
Hmm.
And I don't care what anybody says, if you're good at what you do, you will never be out of a job. And you also do not need most of the tech that we use, you know?
Well, I mean, probably like I was just pitched on investing in something yesterday, and it was a platform to help agents rise in the SEO and chat GPT. And they had a pretty good deck and somebody that I know personally, and he's at the end, I'm like, okay, what does it cost? He goes, oh, what's 5 grand up front and 299 a month. And I'm like, great pricing. I'm totally not interested.
Hmm,
And he's like, "Oh, this is revolutionary." I'm like, "It may be for 8 months until Claude. This is
right,
the AI." Jeff Bezos has a really really good interview that he talked about how we are definitely in an AI bubble right now, not from a perspective of if AI is going to like stay or not, but more from a perspective of you have way too many people creating these tiny trinkets that work with AI that are moment in time products that will not stand the test of time. And they're convincing people that like if you're not on AI, you're dead. And somebody who uses AI all day long, like
right,
I agree in purpose with that. But at the end of the day, the whole reason why we have a CRM, the whole reason why we market, the whole reason why we create content, the whole reason why we do everything that we do is to have more conversations and set more appointments, right?
correct.
So there is no bridge between marketing and clients that is not connected with conversations. Like it just doesn't happen. AI is never going to take that over, ever. Now,
Mm-mm.
could AI streamline the process of buying and selling real estate that would change the way that we have conversations? Sure, but the conversation's not going to go away. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's hard. I'm at Real Broker and we have a conference coming up next week, and I know AI is going to be a hot button like it is, for everybody, right? But
It's
it's
the new shiny penny in my mind.
100%. And it's like you walk away from these and I've only gone to one. I go to a lot of conferences. I don't go to a lot of real estate ones, but like I'd go to the SPI or LeadsCon or some of the industry like big ones to try to figure out like, hey, people outside of our industry are doing, like I know people spending, $20,000 a day in social ads. Like there's got to be something I can learn from that, for our business, right? And I think with real estate agents, because there are so many that are underperforming, and this is how I'll kind of bridge into the CRM talk. They believe they're only one idea, one email, one video, one funnel, one AI tool, one secret that they don't know away from like going from no transactions a month to 20 without all the effort of like bleeding every day and wanting to jump through a wall. Like there is no, it just doesn't exist. But the industry is perpetuating this like, oh yeah, like
Constantly.
just $10 Canva and use this AI thing, and all of a sudden people are just going to come flooding in. They like, and
It's like let me go get a coach, and it's going to be
it's
the it'll be the answer to all my problems,
yeah,
and I'm going to have a new business that is just amazing in 30 days.
that's
It's
right.
like, seriously, that still doesn't happen.
That's
And
right.
and so as we move into the conversation, because we covered a lot of ground already, as we move into a lot of the conversation of CRMs,
Yep.
the big gargantuans, I call them the war of the gargantuans that are happening out there, the big companies. Now, we all know who they are. Of course, I always will give Dan Corkle and his partner, I believe was Tom, that
Mm-hmm.
built Follow Up Boss,
Mm-hmm.
hugely successful
That's
and
right.
a I think for an industry product, the best CRM in that we've seen.
I
It
agree with you.
works really well. So they built something really great, hence the reason they got paid so much money to sell it. However, now we're looking at all of these products and there's all the norms. There's the Bold Trail, there's the Sierra Interactive, but again, when you start talking about these companies, they're giant SaaS companies that now own them. A lot of the big ones. There's
Yep.
still
That's right.
some small ones. I mean, even Compass owns
Mm-hmm.
contractually, and then they shelved it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, so when you start looking at what's a little agent on the street supposed to do, because we really need, remember, I've been a CRM user since Goldmine in
Mm-hmm.
1994.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
We used
I'm
Daylight, which was the descendant of Goldmine. Yeah. But
correct, right?
yeah.
And so I always say it's interesting. I didn't know what Earthlink and AOL and Google Gmail were for email. I seriously in the beginning did not know
Mm-hmm.
because I had all my emails going in and out of Goldmine.
Mm-hmm.
So I always used an email client and never used a large thing like that. So the reason we switched off of that was because they weren't web-based at the time. It
Mm-hmm.
was hard
Yeah.
drive based, right?
Same thing with Daylight.
Uh-huh. And then when they wanted to go web-based, at the time it was going to cost like $10,000 to go web-based, right?
Isn't that
And we're like,
crazy?
why would we do that?
Yeah.
So that's when we went wise agent,
Mm-hmm.
contactually,
Mm-hmm.
follow boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we also were like you. I think the most we ever spent was $100 a month to Zillow just to be able to capture our own listings.
That's right. Same thing.
That
We did
was
it through
it.
Coldwell Banker, and it was
Yeah.
like 290 a year, and
Yeah.
they called it the Fab Four. And if a lead came in, and we had back then we were REO agents, so it was a no-brainer. Best $290 I ever spent.
Absolutely. We were running 20, 30 listings at
Yeah,
any time.
that's
And
right.
we were popping up and the calls would just come in. It was great, right? But we never bought leads
Mm-hmm.
because we generated enough leads. I was a door knocker. We did open
Mm-hmm.
houses. We had the
Mm-hmm.
REO listings. We generated our own leads. So I had to have a place to put those. Now that database is now 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it still feeds me. And so I didn't do anything else. I've never done a drip campaign active thing
Mm-hmm.
because personally, I think they're worthless. I don't know. You
Mm-hmm.
might change my mind today. But now we're looking at proprietary stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I said something on a podcast recently that everybody's all up in arms around terms of service. There are terms of service that nobody reads in our industry on every tech product that they use.
That's right.
Google, Facebook, Instagram, everything has a terms of service. And I had the one of the owners of Contactually back in the day call me up and go, because I was a bucket freak. So
Mm-hmm.
they said, we noticed that you have a bucket called out of area agents by referral. And there's a lot of them in there. Could we use that to market to them? And I was like, phew, my
Mm-hmm.
brain blew up. And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean market to my
Mm-hmm.
database?
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that was my first experience of
Mm-hmm.
knowing they have been able to see the back end of all of our stuff anyway and could use it nefariously if they wanted to.
Well, there was no, with in defense of Z and everything that happened back then. there was encryption back then was nothing. Apple, if there's one thing that people can thank Apple for, and I don't think Apple uses it for all good, right? I think Apple is definitely they have their greed just like anybody else does. But they really took that encryption thing to a next level, saying that, hey, iMessage, like, yeah, it's all on our servers, we control it, but it's all encrypted. Nobody in Apple. And if you've never had an iPhone, like I had to set up an account for my daughter when she was young, right? Well, she's still young, she's 13, but this was
Yeah.
like back when she was 9. So I'd use a fake birthday. And I forgot what that birthday was. I didn't write it down. And Brooke locked her phone. And I tried to get back into it. So I called Apple and they're like, oh, is it a fake birthday? I said, yeah. And they said, do you remember the birthday? And I said, no. And he said, throw the phone away. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, it's done. And he goes, unless you have that, we can't. He goes, even if I was having the best day in the world, I can't unlock your phone for you because I literally don't have the ability to do it.
Interesting.
And you know, I'm fairly opinionated, so I let him know my opinion on the phone, and he's like, "Look, it doesn't. No amount of anger is going to help you unlock this phone." He goes,
Right.
"They are that encrypted," and and he goes, you should be grateful because if somebody else had your phone and was calling right now and got past the security, then we would be able to get them access to your phone." And I'm like,
But
"Okay,
don't you think
cool."
that was Apple and they were so big and had such deep pockets? That's how they were going to protect that. Not to mention they've also got the government coming in and saying, "Can we see those phones?" Right?
Yeah.
So they did something that was good for the consumer that was buying their product, and that was good. However, our industry products, do you think that they're encrypted and that they're like that?
Okay, so let's get into that. I'm going to give you two things. I thought about this morning. I woke up early, and you know how sometimes you're like, okay, here's what's on my schedule today, like, and then things just start coming to you.
Yes.
I was at a conference. Speaking of conferences earlier today, like we were talking, this was just before COVID, and it was a digital marketing conference. And I don't remember the exact number. I'm sure you could probably Google it, but they said for every one piece of data that Meta has on you, Google has 7,900. And so, like, and Facebook has a lot of data, like a lot of data. And so, if you take that because Facebook owns Facebook and then Google basically owns the internet, if you think about it that way with Chrome and, Google search and all that fun stuff, YouTube, all of that. So they know, like, there's that old study that like Google will know you're pregnant before you do.
Yeah.
And so, let's get into the CRM thing. Okay. So there was 1.7 million real estate agents in the industry. Now I think we're down to about 1.3. Okay.
Right.
54% of them will not sell a single home in a year.
Right.
Okay. Which is fine. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing. People are in real estate for a million different reasons. I don't think like the problem that everybody that uses these stats from a negative perspective, the problem with it is they assume that the 54% that aren't going to sell a single home are full-time real estate agents trying to sell a single home. Like that's not the case. You know what I mean?
I'm licensed in 2 states, and if I
Yeah.
sell 3 houses a year, I'm lucky.
Yeah, that's right. And then you have the 46% that will sell real estate. I think the average, don't quote me on this, I think it's like 3.2 or something like that is the average sales per year for the people that are considered active and full. Keep in mind, this is 1.3 million active real estate agents that are paying annual dues to a conglomerate that could give a shit less about,
To a
everything that's going
union.
on. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a glorified union, right? And so if you take that 1.3, you cut them in half, and now we're at like 650,000, give or take. And then you take all those people that are selling one home every quarter, and you take those take that half out, you're left with about like 26% of what I would say like full blown, like this is my career. I do it every single day. I work 6 days a week. I love people. I love real estate. So we really have from a SaaS perspective, like monthly recurring revenue in a CRM, we have a few 100,000 agents that are considered our ideal client base, right? And I know this because I've run 3 SaaS companies,
Right.
four if you count the one that didn't get off the ground. That it depends on selling services to real estate agents, right? So if I'm a CRM, take Follow Up Boss for example, which I agree with you, amazing platform. I think it was the gold standard for all of real estate platforms. If you want to get to 100,000, I have no idea how many users Follow Up Boss has, by the way. So any number that I give you is purely based on assumptions. But let's say that Follow Up Boss had a path to get to 100,000 users. And let's say their average cost per month is $105, right? Taking into effect teams and additional
Sure.
services and all that, right? That's literally as good as it can get. It is never going to get better than that. The real
Nope.
estate industry is not a booming industry. It is a churning industry, meaning there are just as many people going out the back door as there are coming in the front door. We are never
Yep.
going to get to 2 million agents. This is, we can talk about interest rates and how that, like, if anything screwed the real estate industry, it's that too many people thought that 2.875% rates were normal. and then the market flooded. And then what happened?
Yep.
Like normal, like weird bull runs like that can't last, or else the economy collapses, right? So we have to go,
Right.
like, people need to fall in love with
Normal
5.375%
is
rates.
5 to 6.5%.
That's right.
I mean,
And
and
we have to stop.
figure six is going to be like historic norm.
Yeah. I mean, Yvonne, I'm still talking to people today, although I don't sell full time. And they're like, oh, you know what? We really want to make a move, but we're just going to wait till rates come down. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, oh, and here's another thing. Not, I'm making the stat up, but we'll just believe it's fact because I've never told a lie in my life. The like I have to believe that 90 plus real estate agents, 90 plus percent of real estate agents active right now, were not even licensed during that
Oh,
previous, like,
I will agree with that
it,
because I think we know that at least 65 to 70% have only been licensed in the less than 10 years.
yeah. So
So
they don't
no,
like,
most of them have never been through a this.
that
They've
is right.
only been on this.
And people are like, I know we're in a bad market and but this is what happens when things get too good, when things get too easy, when things get too cheap, when people can trade homes like cars.
Yeah.
This is where
When
we're at.
somebody
Okay,
says we're in a tough market or a bad market, and I go like this, excuse
no,
me?
we're in the market.
A market. I
Yeah,
mean, I worked in the number 4 market of the country for distressed properties.
yeah,
Okay. You want to know hard? You figure that one out.
yeah.
When you're talking to somebody who wants to buy a house and then you have to say, well, do you own one? Yeah. Well, what do you owe? Oh, well, you can't buy because you're going to short sell that one.
That's right.
And I'm going to list that house. And they're like, huh? And you're going to be a renter for 3 years.
Hmm.
So those are the conversations that the agents right now have not been having.
Yeah,
Everybody's got equity, right? So
it's
when you have
crazy.
that, what do you have when you have an industry that doesn't really understand markets?
Well, I think that it causes a lot of stalling, meaning like I'll just wait this out. And I'm not a finance guy by any means, right? But I definitely think that like this is if you look at historical data, we are never going to see a 3% rate ever again in our life. It's never happened before. It's never going to
Mhm.
happen again. It was a perfect storm of three financial policies that all met. Everybody thought it was happy. People were collecting fees. They were, like there was a
Right.
lot of stuff happening. Even the government, the
Which we're not
administration.
going to see the 18% ever again that I saw when I
That's right.
started in the industry.
That's right.
Okay.
And we talk about that all the time. Remember how your parents said, well, back when I bought a home in 1978, it was 18%. Well, we're going to say, hey, back when we bought our fifth
It
home, it
was
was
two and a
3%.
half.
Yeah. I mean, these are just like, and to be clear, if you have a home with a 2.5% interest rate, like you need to figure out how to hold that because that rate alone will beat inflation for the end of time. Inflation will never drop below 2.5% ever.
If you
Right.
literally have a house right now that's that rate, then you better figure out a way how to hold on to it, stick a tenant in it, and then go buy something else because that's how you're going to build wealth.
Yes,
And
right.
this is resources. This is not, this is being resourceful and figuring out how to move money. Like John always says, roll your dice, move your mice.
Yeah.
And you have to really leverage a lot of things, which means you have to work a lot harder to have stuff. Or stay in the damn house and don't move. But stop
And don't
looking on
HELOC it.
Zillow.
Yeah.
Stop looking at all the houses on Zillow because you're not going to get one. So if I'm a realtor right now and I am working off of my phone contacts,
Hmm.
maybe I've done something like created a spreadsheet and I have like a lots of spreadsheet with a couple of hundred people's names on it.
Hmm.
What should somebody do, Steve?
Well, let's get okay. So let me finish the thing on follow up boss, right? So not to use them as like because this is happening with a lot of people, right? So 100,000 things they're making X amount of money per month, but they still want to grow. So they have two choices. They have all the data, and that data is very valuable to people,
Very
right?
valuable.
So to be clear, Compass did not buy Contactually because they thought Contactually was amazing.
Nope.
They bought Contactually because there's data in there, and can they take that data and use that to go out to not in a bad way.
No.
Zillow has a ton of data right now. They know what people are looking at. Everything is cookie. They may not know that it's Steve Olson in Carlsbad, California, that's looking at this real estate, but they know that this type of user ID that is a fictitious long string of characters continues to do this. And then once Steve creates an account on Zillow, then those are merged, and then they know, right? So the sale of Follow Up Boss to Zillow. Now, Zillow from what I know, they didn't want to keep developing the Zillow partner app. They wanted just to bring somebody in to where everybody They could use somebody else's tech and then power Zillow Flex. The bad thing is all the Zillow Flex teams that now were said, hey, you have to use Follow Up Boss because that's how we're, and by the way, you have
You
to
have to
pay
pay
for it.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give you a discount, right? We'll give you a fake discount. And there's three teams that I coach right now that are north of 25 agents per team. And that was boom, here's a $1,200 bill that you just to be a part. So again, going back to the fees thing, right? So I don't follow up boss for the sale because
No,
that's their out is I either sell the data, I partner with the data, or I sell the company because there is no other way out, right?
correct.
Let's look at industry agnostic CRMs in order of size, right? So you have like $100 million company, which would be like Infusionsoft or Keep, right? And then you have a company that's right along it, which would be like Pipedrive, very similar revenue, more CRM driven than maybe Keep is more marketing automation, Pipedrive is more CRM driven. And then you go up market, right? So up from there would be like a HubSpot. And so the difference between HubSpot and Keep, much more expensive per month. HubSpot is a $4 billion company. Keep is a $100 million company. That's a big difference, right?
Hmm.
And then you should look this up. Like this is crazy because people think that Salesforce and HubSpot are direct competitors. And from a consumer feature set, they kind of are. But Salesforce is like it's something they're way bigger than HubSpot. It's not even
Yes.
anywhere freaking close how much, right? So but the difference between them and a follow-up boss is that it is a data table, right? That's essentially all HubSpot is a massive data table that you can manipulate in a UI that works for your business, right? And so the things that make those really easy is at any given time, if you want to leave Pipedrive or leave Keep or leave Go High Level or HubSpot or Salesforce, essentially what you're exporting is a massive data table that can be moved from one system to another. The problem in real estate is that they're not stupid. They're like, oh, we don't have to do this because real estate agents they're not like, they don't have these requirements, right? So good luck trying to take all of your data out of like a top producer or wise. Like, they'll give you the contacts, the names, and the phone numbers, but like if you have custom objects and notes and you want to merge that in, there's no way. You're gonna have to pay people in the Philippines $10,000, to be able to take all
No, or
that
you do
data.
what I did. I pulled it out of one, stuck it into the other one, the follow-up boss, and no, it's not segregated, but I can go down at the very bottom when the import came in and see all of my information,
Yeah,
the notes and everything inside the body of the
yeah.
notes. Otherwise, you lose all your information. So, but here's the other problem. Most of the databases of real estate agents aren't even clean. They're
No, no, I've
they're
never
not
run into a
even
clean
worth
database.
importing and exporting because they're just a bunch of crap. It's like nobody's done anything with segmenting or done anything with it. There's such a
That's
small
right.
percentage of people doing that,
Hmm.
right? And so if I, as a realtor,
Hmm.
have a follow-up boss account, I
Hmm.
have 7,200 people in there.
Hmm.
I have them tagged,
Hmm.
sourced. I don't give a shit about the stages,
Hmm.
but they're sourced and they're tagged. What is the process of me moving to a HubSpot?
The only so I would go to an agnostic CRM based on the goals that you have, right? So the only client that I would say in real estate that is a fit for a Salesforce or an HubSpot, number one, it's got to be a big team. Number two, it's got to be somebody who legitimately wants to build a like legit. And I don't mean Salesforce like
A
Salesforce. I mean like
business on the product.
yeah, I mean, I was at an event. I was in a mastermind a few years ago and one of the guys in the mastermind owned a very famous traveling event series. I won't use them, by name, but you know who they are. They're huge, probably 15,000 people in an event. They travel to every city and they bring a
Mhm.
bunch of celebrity speakers in. And those celebrity speakers sell and they pitch, and then this guy takes like 20 to 50% of that revenue. It's a great model, very common model, right? So I go to his office. We have a meeting. I'm waiting in the lobby, if you want to call it that, like a little green room. And I see like 60 people, stand-up cubicles. They've all got headsets and they're all on the phone, right? And so I'm talking to one of his directors or whatever you want to call him. I'm like, they just selling event tickets. He goes, yeah. And he goes, we have 58 in-house and we have about another 300 that work from home. And I said, what do you guys use? He goes, believe it or not, we use Go High Level. I'm like, you do? And he goes,
Interesting.
yeah. And I said, okay. I'm like, and he goes, it could get better. And he goes, but it's unlimited and we can onboard 300 people and our costs don't really change. But like, I was really infatuated with that because like they knew they're like, hey, so many outbound dials, so many connects, so many connects, so many interests, so many interests, so many tickets sold. And we do that about 20,000 times a day. And he goes, we can sell out about 7 to 12,000 people in an event that costs 47.97, 197, and 597, depending on the level of your ticket. He goes, it pretty much takes us about 14 days to do that. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, it's just sheer brute force, like military hit them from every single angle. That's
Volume telemarketing.
right. So like that
But
part.
then they're also using the back end doing drip campaigns from it after the calls go through, and it's a layered effect, right?
But the drip in the sense of like, so you mentioned drip earlier, right?
Yeah.
If you're sending drips to stay relevant, those are tough, right? Because
Yeah.
we get so many emails every single day and like people see right through it. So the drips that I would suggest people really get heavy into is like, I called you today, you didn't answer. And then so then I automate a text and the text says, hey, I just called, sorry you weren't there. Maybe SMS is easier. And then 4 minutes later, an email goes out saying, just called and texted. Maybe, I don't want to bother you, but email's probably easiest. How would you prefer we communicate? So it's kind of like a waterfall type system,
Yeah.
not a trying to make something seem that like,
You're
because
not selling something in the email or the
that's
text.
right. It should just be like, hey, what is the easiest way that you and I can have a conversation? Or what is the easiest way that you can tell me you don't want to have a conversation like that?
Right.
Because if I like whatever those activities are, you may have a different approach to this or a different opinion. But if you can get into your CRM, whatever it is, and the only responsibility other than content and ads that you're doing every day is that we complete 100 activities in the CRM 5 days a week, it is impossible to not sell real estate. It is literally impossible.
And
Like
what
you
do you
can
consider an activity?
like any level of like outreach, whether it's like I could send a bulk email to 10 people, I can send a one-to-one email, I can send a video email, I can send an SMS, I can make 10 calls. Now remember, there's no bridge, that gets somebody from unknown to client without a conversation, right? So can you
Right.
set conversations or appointments over email? Sure. Can you do it over SMS? Yeah, I think it's getting a lot easier right now, better than it. Like I don't answer my phone. I don't like I know that sounds weird. I'm a big SMS. Some of my biggest investor partners, there's two that I'm thinking of, one down in La Jolla. I don't know that I've ever spoken to him on the phone, ever, not once, and he was very clear from the get-go. He goes, I'll text you. And I know somebody else on the opposite side. When I first moved to California, a mutual friend of mine, Peter Hernandez, which was the
Yeah.
president or still is the president of Elliman, I called him before I was a Telus and I said, hey, my cousin bought a home in Malibu from Chris Cortazzo. Can you make an introduction? Like, I just want to pick his brain about the California market. And he goes, yeah. So he calls Chris or texts Chris or whatever, and Chris tells Peter, "Yeah, go ahead and have Steve reach out." So I send Chris a text, calls me right away, instantaneously. First words out of his mouth: "Don't call me or don't text me." I'm like,
Don't
"What?"
text
And
me.
he goes, "Don't text me. I only do phone calls." He goes, "You need something? Just call me. If I can't answer, I'll call you back." And he goes, "What can I do to help?" And I said, "Oh, answer a couple of questions." He goes, "It's simple. Listen, get the most basic tech stack you can do one city, do nothing else. That's it." And he goes, trust me, you don't think I have access to Bel Air and Platinum Triangle, all that? He goes, I could easily do that. It is Malibu or die, period.
There you
And he
go.
goes, I don't know what else to tell you. And he goes, just go to the highest price market you feel comfortable in, learn as much about that market as you can, and try to take as much market share. And he goes, I've been doing this. I don't know what he said. Like, I think he's well over 30 years now. And if you just go to Zillow and pull 100 listings in Malibu, like I'm telling you, he has like 40% of them. It's crazy.
But see, that's the same thing like James and David when I
That's
coached
right.
them. I mean, that's what they did. And they built their business on, they came from England, landed and said, where do we go? Bel Air. And
That's right.
they door knocked Bel Air. And do you know to this day, they are some of the best guys when it comes to phone.
I
They
believe it.
actually pick up the phone and make a call. And they are on their phone all day long doing deals.
Yeah.
And so, what's that tell you? It's like, so you're trying to, again, build the bigger mousetrap that keeps you from doing the work you have to do as
That's
a
right.
realtor.
And a mousetrap is I like this. I've coached teams where I'm thinking of a team on the East Coast right now that 15 people on the team, and like okay, so let me go back to advertising really quick. I got hired at Clear Channel Radio. My first day was, hey, we're going to give you 3 clients. We'll give you a $6,000 a month draw for 6 months. After that, it's 28% of everything that you sell. That was my comp plan. And I said, okay. I'm like, where am I going to get the clients? Like, oh, we're going to give you a list, and you're going to call that list, and we're going to give you some scripts. And of course, I fought it because I'm a dumb 23-year-old, right? Think I have everything all figured out. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the business. And my manager be like, why would you go there when you can just call them? Like, why? Like, I don't understand it. You could call 50 people or you could go visit one. And I'm like, yeah, but face to face, I come from retail before that. And so finally I came up with a script and I could probably go and find it written down, but it was like, hey, I was talking with the morning show this morning and they're interested in doing a partnership. If they could get you 30 to 40 more inbound people into your store in the next 2 weeks, is that something that like you'd like to explore? And I said that once, and the guy was his dry cleaner, the first person I called on that. He goes, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm like, what? He's, yeah, how much is it going to cost? And I said, well, what does your average ticket cost? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, that would be like 26 spots. I think it's going to be somewhere around $3,100 to take 3 weeks. And he goes, do I have to pay a talent fee? I'm like, yeah, it's $500, but they'll give you 16 mentions or something like that. And he just goes, okay. And I'm like, oh, all right. And so I went back and told my, manager, and she's like, yeah, because people want more business, right? So fast forward,
Right.
like that's always like, especially going into the event company, right? If you have an offer that's good enough, you can simplify the marketing and the communication. If you have no offer, it's impossible. Like there is
Right.
no marketing funnel that will outperform a shitty offer. Zero. Doesn't matter how smart you are, the automation or anything. There is no marketing funnel that will outperform a bad offer. And so if you're calling everybody and saying, hey, my name's Steve Olson, I'm a real estate agent in San Diego, do you want to buy a home? You can say that so many times and eventually somebody will say yes, but that's the long way around it. So the only, I think going back to maybe I could have just not said any of that and answer the question in this one little line. The only purpose of a CRM is to streamline the process that allows you to know who you should be calling every day. That's it.
That's it.
Like there's no other, like I look at,
Otherwise, you're just randomly calling people.
yeah,
If you have a somewhat of an organization inside a CRM and it tells you, call these people to now, right?
yeah.
And what'd you say? It's 100 connections a week.
Yeah. No, just 100 like even if you took a listing today, like you could buy I can buy like this. I don't know if I should say this on recording. Yvonne, you could come to me and say, I want you to go find this person that's worth this much, that lives in this area, that has this credit score, that
Oh,
does
you
it.
can buy
I can
that.
get you that data. Yeah. Like
Absolutely.
it's not, you can't Google it, right? It's not super easy, but if you really put in the work, you can go get the data, right? So like, let's say that honor the do not call list, honor all the canned spam rules and all that stuff, but you can buy the data. You can take a listing today and you can call every single person, say, hey, my name's Steve Olson. I'm sure you saw the listing over at 123 Main Street. We just put the sign up a couple of days ago. Listen, I'm calling for one specific reason is because if history repeats itself, I'm going to get about 27 people that are going to look at the home. We're going to generate around 300 registrations of people that have interest. And a lot of people are going to like that home, but more people are going to want something else in the neighborhood. Is there anybody that you know that I need to be talking to that is planning on putting their home on the market in the next 60 days, even if they already have a real estate agent? If you did that 300 times a month, you'd never have like
You'd have so many listings coming out of your ears.
and it's like, well, I don't cold call. It's well, what do you
It's
mean a
not a
cold
cold
call?
call.
Exactly. It's
It's
an
called
offer.
marketing your listing
That's
and
right.
asking for the referral. It's
It,
like,
and look, ads work, but as you know, the best ad is only as good as your follow up. Like it doesn't matter how good the ad is if there's no
well,
follow up and there's no
this is where
communication.
I get really irritated and tired of, after 16 years of
Yeah,
coaching and
yeah.
consulting,
Hmm.
you become a broken record
That's right.
because you don't need any more leads. You don't need any more things coming into your database when you've spent thousands, tens of thousands, most agents have, getting those ones you already have, and you've done nothing with them. One of the top things that I used to tell Zillow Flex teams is if you're, especially when they switched over to the Flex program and they have new contracts and new things, those old Zillow leads that they paid as a premier agent and bought, those were free because you're not
Yeah.
paying the 40% referral on them. And yet, not one Zillow Flex team that I could name right now that I had direct contact with had any kind of a program of actually following up with those old leads.
It's the disease of top of funnel versus bottom of funnel leads. Like
Yep.
we still hear today, like I only want to pay for bottom of funnel leads. There is no top or
Okay.
bottom.
There are people, and
That's it.
people decide when they are going to make a
That's
change.
right. There's nothing that I could say, right? Like, is there anything that I could say in this moment right now that would convince you and John to move to Carlsbad?
No.
No,
We
nothing.
were just talking about that last night with our friends from Carlsbad, though, that were
Oh,
up in
really?
Idaho. And
That's
I'm
that's
like,
hilarious.
you know, that would be like North County. I really like North County, and I always have. When I was in high school at Hemet
That's
High,
right.
Lucadia and Moonlight Beach was our ditch day.
That's
Okay.
right.
So, and we have a little trailer in Oceanside and all that, but there's no, we want to get rid of that, because that's not who we are. And so, no,
Hmm.
there's nothing that's going to cause me to go there. However, if you're calling me because I'm in your database and you just use that last script on me, is there anybody that you think, well, I know two guys that live just above the lagoon. I was just with them at dinner last night in Idaho.
Yeah.
They might be thinking about moving out of their community.
You know,
See,
the great, go ahead, I cut you off.
you just don't know who knows who,
That's right.
and why wouldn't you ask? There is no more 6 degrees of separation in our world.
Right.
It's one
It's
or
pro
2 degrees of
That's
separation.
right. I was going to say, I think worst case scenario is probably three. Like it's,
Yeah.
our job with communication, if you ask who somebody knows or if there's anybody that you can connect me with, like if it's them, they will self-select on the spot. Well, I don't know anybody, but like actually we're thinking of moving, you know?
Here's what we said. Someone will buy or sell with you at the time if you are in front of them at the time that they are ready to buy or sell.
That's right.
Just be in front of them,
That's
right?
it.
And
It's
so
the
if
first
that
person they can
means
remember.
That's right. And if that means that you're sending that you have your clients, your past clients, your sphere, whoever, set up on a home valuation every 30-day monthly drip, and then you never talk to them because you can see them on the back end, they're looking at their values, they're checking out. Then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, oh, look, they set themselves up on a nosy neighbor search. Oh,
Hmm.
they're looking at properties in the same area. But then I never call them. That's on me.
Yeah.
See, because I just gave those people to Zillow, to Google, to whoever else is going to build out my competitor, build out their business and actually make the phone call with somebody who's actually triggering constantly, and you can watch them trigger. So,
You know, it's going to be interesting I don't know if this data exists. I've never tried to look it up. It would be interesting to find out what percentage of all consumers that are actively in the process of making a move right now have engaged in one way or another with Zillow. And I bet the number is probably crazy high. Like it wouldn't shock me if that number was north of 85%, if not even more, especially in the more like I don't want to say developed part of the United States, but like the more like higher educated, higher income part, I bet that number is probably be close to 100, right? Because they're doing that. Maybe in some of the lower parts, it's not as important. But the thing that to go back to the whole CRM talk, the thing that's alarming right now is let's take the follow up boss and the Zillow thing, right? So follow up boss and Zillow in their terms of service said something to the effect of, hey, if we have a client in Zillow and they're also in your follow up boss CRM, and I have some follow up questions that I don't have answers to, maybe you have answers to it and there's a match, then we're going to call that I think they called it a shared client or something like that
shared
is
client,
what they
yeah, huh? Something
shared
like that.
client. And so if there's a shared client in there, we reserve the right to market to them. Now they have not explicitly said they are or are not going to call them, right?
Right?
That's there's a little bit of vague. I don't think they're going to. I think that's going to wreak havoc on everything, right? However, the issue that people should have is like, well, what happens when that because we're also assuming that that client is in nobody else's CRM, which is not true. That client's probably in 19 other CRMs at least, right?
Exactly.
And so now Zillow is going to say, hey, we have all this data from these 19 agents that use Follow Up Boss in Sandpoint, Idaho. And we know that this client is looking at Zillow 27 things. So we should probably remarket to them and have them keep coming back to Zillow so they can have a better search experience. The problem that arises with that is not the remarketing. Nobody should get like I think remarketing is one of the best modern advertising models that's ever existed because it prevents you from going on to Facebook, Google, YouTube, and seeing ads about drums. Like, I don't know, like maybe you and John are going to buy drums. I have no, but you're probably not going to buy drums, right? So because we have so much data, it shows stuff that statistically is probably more relevant. Some of it good, some of it is manipulative, meaning like there are
Right?
some, you should be thinner, you should be stronger, you should be taller,
Right?
you should have this makeup. Like that stuff's happening. That's terrible. That's the dirty side of this, right? Um, but like, I don't have a problem with the remarketing part. The problem is when they remarket and that person goes back to Zillow and now they enter into that flex flow. Are they intentionally taking those people and are they moving them more towards the group of people that are going to collect a 40% referral fee on that?
Well, what do you think? I say yes,
Yeah,
because it's a 40% referral fee.
yeah,
Because, I
and
mean, why would you not do that?
who is the biggest real estate brokerage in the country that is the highest? market cap in the country in the real estate space that didn't even get touched by the NAR settlement?
I don't know.
Zillow.
Duh. Yeah.
But you know
Yeah.
why?
And
Is
see, that's
because
the
they don't
part
serve the
everybody
client.
forgets. Everybody's complaining. Like we see all these things in these groups and stuff. And it's like, why are you complaining about Zillow? They're a brokerage.
That's
They
right.
have they have all of our listings anyway. They're a
That's right.
national brokerage.
And listen, I can do that. There's
Sure.
nothing stopping me from doing what Zillow's doing. I mean, other than
No.
the fact that I don't have $300 million in the bank to be able to fund something like that. But like all the industry big guys are like, oh, we need to topple Zillow. No, you don't. You like the easiest way to put out a fire is to starve it of oxygen. And the easiest way to starve it of oxygen is like in the real estate space is to create competition. It's
That's
not
right.
to like there's no amount of bad mouthing we can do where the consumer's like, you know what? I think the real estate agent is right. Zillow is bad. No, it's not. It's easy.
First
It is the
off, one of the
easiest
things
thing for
that
me to
the
use.
the industry needs to understand, and the realtors on the street need to understand, is the consumer does not understand any of what we're talking about right now.
And they're never going to side with us, ever,
And they that
ever.
never, because we charge too much money. Okay. And they're not, but also they're saying they don't care.
That's right. They
They
only
just
care
want to
about,
buy or sell a house. They
that's
could give
right.
a shit how we're advertising the house. They want it to be out there, but they want a pretty picture. You
That's
know,
right.
it's no different than the back page of the Home Gallery magazine that we paid
Yeah.
$800 a month for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, just show them the smoke and mirrors because we all know. Sure, is your Instagram dancing at that video or beautiful luxury video going to sell the house? More than likely not. Okay. But is it going to get eyeballs that's going to draw more people to me as an agent? Yeah, because that's the
Yeah.
goal. Okay.
100%. It is
And
like
see
personal brand is the gig, without a
exactly.
doubt.
So the consumer doesn't care. The realtor shouldn't even get on that horse. And so at the end of the day, a realtor, a, an everyday Joe realtor who's selling 10, 20, 25 houses a year. Okay.
Hmm.
I have a hard stop here at 10, but I'm going to end it with this, and I want your opinion. They're not going to go to HubSpot. They're not going to go to Infusionsoft. They're not going to go to Salesforce. More than likely, they're going to choose a proprietary product that's already in the industry. Okay. What should they be? What should they know that they should do with it? And the basics. And
I
what should they do with it at that point?
Okay, so we only need a couple things, right? Number one, we need some level of web infrastructure that we can run traffic to that ideally causes people to give us their
So,
contact
website or
info.
landing page
That's
to
right.
drive
Right. We
traffic
can,
to.
yep. I don't think the consumer cares about property drips anymore. So like wide open, all that
Nope.
stuff, like I'd kill all that. Like I just don't think it matters. I don't have it. And trust me, if I sold full time, I still wouldn't invest in it. You need to be able to classify those people who they are and where they came from, like source and are they seer, are they a
Tag,
prospect?
source,
100%.
wherever,
And then
whatever's going to make you remember and be able to filter them to market to them the way that you should market to them.
yeah, I believe there's everybody, and then your sales pipeline is an agreed to an appointment and after, right? So anybody that agrees to a formal conversation, an in-person coffee meeting, a listing appointment, a buyer appointment, a showing, your sales pipeline starts there and goes all the way to close after. The whole like warm lead, A lead, B lead, D lead, C lead, red, white, and blue,
Bullshit. It's just
it's all
bullshit.
shit. It's
Yep.
all shit. You just need to be in front of them every single day, right?
Yep.
You can do all of that with a $20 HubSpot CRM. You can do all of that with a $97 high level subscription. You can do all that with a $50 pipe drive. All of that can happen with very low. And listen, high level's not going anywhere.
Nope.
Keep was just acquired by Thrive, but in that case, it was one medium company acquired by a big company. But there's rumors that
What about
Salesforce is
Zoho? Zoho was one that I was looking into several years ago.
Zoho is great. They are the Indian version of HubSpot. So they're built over there. It is very like Amazon, meaning like you just buy little pieces of what you need. You don't have to buy the whole big machine together, which is great. Not the easiest to navigate. I've used Zoho in an event thing that we did during COVID. It's great, but it's not the easiest to navigate.
So
Only
Go
because
High Level and HubSpot
or Pipe
are the
Drive would be the three that I would
or
look at.
Pipedrive are the three for basic CRM
I
that
mean,
you can
I can
do
build a
anything with.
500 unit team on that. Easy. So in if I ever want to leave, I can export the entire data table. There's
Love it.
no locking of the data. They're so big, they don't care about it. There's no contracts. Like it's just freaking easy, right? And so if you
Yep.
know what are my 100 activities a day, who are the people, where do they come from, and who are the people that have agreed to communication all the way to closing? Do I have clarity on that? And that's it. Everything else is you just go out there and acquire stuff for the sole reason of filling that CRM. That's it.
Also, all of those that you mentioned can also have the ability to build out pipelines in them
Oh yeah.
that you could do transaction listing coordination management
Yep.
in them and all of that. Now, hiring
I would
somebody to
never
build
run
it.
transaction coordination out of my CRM, by the way. I would use Monday, Asana, ClickUp, or Notion because
Okay.
that database stays intact. It's the cleanest database you can have, and you don't ever have to worry about, oh, I
See,
can't leave
I'm
this.
a believer of adding on and not building it inside the CRM either. But a
Yeah,
lot of people want it all in one. It's like
don't if
I
you're
like
never
add
going to
on.
get there. It's never
Yeah,
going to happen.
exactly. Exactly. So, tying it all up, if they needed to hire somebody to build out a Go High Level, a HubSpot, a Keep, a Pipedrive, what is the best way to do that? Go to Online PH or to Fiverr or to somewhere and hire somebody that's a specialist in those areas, or reach out to
We
you?
we do it for specific types of people at inboundagentos.com. That would be if like there's two routes you can go. Number one, I don't know what I'm doing. I want to utilize somebody else who does know what they're doing, and I just want to take their system. That would be us, right? Number two, or the second camp is like, I know what I'm doing, but I don't have the technical wherewithal to put that together. I know exactly what I want. I know how I want to structure the data. I just need somebody to do the labor for me. At that point, I wouldn't do Fiverr, but definitely onlinejobs.ph. I would go to, I would, and the way that you would hire that is I would hire three people, not one. And I would hire three people to do the exact same project for $300 each. And then whoever does it better, I would hire that person. So sure, it's going to cost you 900, not 300, but like a Honda Civic is an amazing car until you drive a Ferrari. And I just want you to remember that. And so for anybody that's ever spent any of their career interviewing, that first interview is always amazing until you have
Yep.
interview number two, and then
Yep.
interview number three, and then now you have context. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yep.
and there's nothing wrong with Honda Civics. I just mean like if
I love it.
like speed and racing is your thing. Honda's awesome until you drive a Ferrari. Then you're
Exactly. I
like,
love it. And on
there's
that
no
note, we're going to end this podcast. Steve, we're going to be talking more because you're a wealth of knowledge. I've always known that. I surround myself with smart people, or at least I try to, and
right
if they'll
back
have
at you.
me. And so we're going to talk some more, but thank you so much for being here today. And I am excited to talk again because I want to get a little further into the marketing side of it
That's
and
right.
what you do too. So thank you, Steve Olson.
Thank you.